Hey guys, we're back at Franklin Cycles here. We got a little crf70 19, I don't think so, newer than that. It's a 2006 crf70, so we just picked it up and we're going to be doing the fork seals on it and fixing it up a little bit there. It'll be a winter project to when we repaint it and all that there. But for right now, we're just going to be cleaning it up a little bit, making it run a little bit better. My son's going to be giving me a hand. And eventually maybe my other son will be giving me a hand depending on how much homework he's got. So check it out. Here's the bike. 2006 CRF70. So it's in half decent shape. So it's just that it's really dirty, and there's the fork seals, as you can see, are in really bad shape. They're so bad that it leaks right down the fork leg to the rim. It comes even up onto the fender, underneath the bike. Both sides are in pretty rough shape. So we're going to be doing a time lapse and also a regular video at the same time. The rear of the bike, we're going to be taking off the swing arm, and we're going to be just sanding it down for now, repainting it black. We have a couple of items that are going to be coming in this week, so it's going to be part of the build and all that there. So check it out and stay in tune. All right, guys. So now we're going to be starting to take the forks off of the CRF. So there's a 6mm bolt that holds the brake cable to the fork, so that definitely has to be removed.
Oh, we have to bend it back when we put it back on.
That should be good. So my son's going to loosen the adjustment up on the brake for the cable, so that has to be loose before we loosen the bottom adjustment on the wheel for the brake. So while he is doing that, I'm going to loosen the axle. It's a 19mm
I need a 14 on the side.
nut. That's done. So you also need a 12mm wrench for the adjustment on the lower adjustment of the cable for the front brake. So once all that is loose, then you'll be able to remove the wheel properly, because right now the back plate for the brakes are going to be stuck and you're not going to be able to remove it. So there's another nut underneath that has to be loosened so you can pass the cable through the bracket on the backing plate for the front brake. That is also a 12mm wrench that you need. You get it done there, dude?
Yeah, I got it. I need to align it properly.
Alright, so are you able to pull the cable through up top?
Should be.
Pull on the lever. You got it? There you go. So that's off.
It looks a little twisted, the cable.
Well, it's all good. So once I remove this lower nut on the adjustment, then I'll be able to remove the cable from the backing plate. So just pull on the cable, lift it through the backing plate. Remove the cable from the brake arm. Remove the little cover for the lever.
We might
That's
need
done.
Probably need one. We might have one.
We might have one for that. So that's all good to go. Now you have to hold the axle on the other side. It's a 14mm, so we can remove the nut completely off of the axle. Got it?
It's already loose. Oh, it was already loose.
I know, because I loosened it.
Oh, okay.
So that's good. Rubber mallet so that you don't damage the threads. A lot of people use hammers. Not too Not too good to do that because then you damage the teeth. And then you can't put the nut back on. And as we can see, the brakes are going to have to be changed also.
They're dead.
So
The worst than when we
brakes
looked at them last time.
are in pretty bad shape. They're all glossy. So we have we'll put some new brakes on that also. So that's done. Now you have some pinch bolts on the lower clamps, which are 12 mil. They have to be loosened. And then you have 14 mil heads that hold the top of the fork into the triple clamps. So they have to be removed. So that way there we can slide it through the triple clamps to remove the forks from the front end.
Get to the top first.
So I normally try to turn the handlebars as far as I can. And then tap on it with a rubber mallet. Try and loosen them up. And then I can do it by hand. So that's loose.
You tapped it the wrong way.
So, and then now the 12 mil down here.
Do one fork at a time.
That's it, one fork at a time. And working on forks and all that are pretty greasy and oily and all that there. So I'm glad I got the gloves on. So
we're gonna have to clean all the plastic.
yeah, so
even the sides.
I'll show you later on in the video how we change the fork seals. Hold the fork there just in case there falls down.
It's already. So it'll probably be pretty easy to take out.
It should be.
Unlike other forks that are upside down forks are harder to take out, put in.
Holds pretty long in there. Okay, pull down. Still stuck? There you go. Pull it down. So.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So we're just gonna screw the nut and the bolt all back in. So that way there it's just holding in place. Now we're gonna do the other side.
Yeah, we'll put this away.
So, okay, take this.
My gloves are already greasy.
So, do the pinch bolt.
Pinch bolt first.
Yeah, just loosen it up.
Yep.
There you go. Push it down. There you go. Just loosen it up. Sounds good.
Should be good.
Okay. Here you go.
14.
14. Got it?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll hold the fork. So it's not a very long job to remove. It's relatively easy. So it's just that you need all the proper tools.
Brakes won't take so long.
There you go. Are you able to pull through? Yeah, they're in pretty rough shape.
Oh.
Oop, there you go. So we got to stick something underneath the back wheel so that it doesn't fall backwards. So, and that's basically the front end. So we'll be showing you how to change the seals on the CRF, and it's not a big job. So I'll give you the amount of cc's that goes in the forks and all that sort of stuff also. So we'll be back. We'll be back soon. All right, guys. So we're back with the CRF forks. So like I showed you before, they're in pretty rough shape. So these are the seals that we had picked up for them. So they're from K&S. So the fork seals that go on here, all right, are 27 millimeters interior diameter by 39 exterior diameter where it sits inside of the fork, and 10.5 millimeter thickness. So there are several machines that this particular seal sits on. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see, but if you have any type of smaller bikes, that's the application. So you can probably freeze frame it or something like that there and take a look, see if there's something that that'll fit
Like that. That'll probably, yeah,
There
you
you
can see
go.
it there.
There you go.
And it says the years on it too. What bikes it goes on, the years.
Awesome. Cool. So that's done. Now to remove, take the forks apart. The top of the fork here, it's a 22 millimeter socket, and you also have a 6 millimeter Allen bolt at the bottom of the fork. So to remove the whole fork together, you have to remove the seal from here, the dust seal, and then you have to put it in the clamp, and you have to remove the Allen bolt so that the fork leg and the tube will come apart. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the seal and the dust seal. So you just take a little fine flat screwdriver.
Try not to like pierce.
And try not to damage it and all that. So, because the dust seal is basically just to prevent for the dust to get in. So that they can be cleaned. You can change them if you want. If they're cracked, these ones are not cracked. So I presume they should be good for now. So inside the fork, you are going to see there's a snap ring inside.
On the edge.
So that you have to remove, so that the seal inside the fork can be taken out. So if you're not sure of doing this stuff by yourself, what I suggest you do is whatever you take off, stick it in a row, so that way there you can go back and you can put it back together if you're not sure on what you're doing. So now we're going to stick this part in the vise. I'm going to see if I can loosen the bottom of the fork just with a ratchet first. If not, then I'm going to have to use the impact. No, it looks like the impact is going to have to be done. So there's that there. Okay, going to need the reducer.
A reducer for it?
Yep.
It should be still here.
It's over near the bike, I think. So
That is.
that there. Reducer. Make sure that will loosen it. That's good.
No, pushing this.
Now sometimes you have to compress the fork. Watch your hand. There you go. It's loose. Because if you don't compress the fork, put pressure on the inside of the fork where the damper is, then the bottom bolt will not loosen. It'll just spin inside the fork.
Forks will have to be a little cleaned up because there's a little bit of rust from sitting, but that's not much. It's not something big.
So I normally use a small bucket so that the oil will come out. I guess it's in there a little bit longer than I expected. A lot to unscrew. Okay. See if we can remove it with this. It might go quicker. Just push a little bit on the end there. There you go. That's done.
You need some pressure on it.
Yeah. So let it drain out. You can push on the shock.
Pump it out.
Pump out all the oil. There's not much in there, and it's pretty. I think it may be the original oil that was in there since 2006. So, and now because you released the bolt from here, you can take the whole fork apart.
That was easier than I expected. You should have to.
This is where the little screws into to keep the fork together. So for now we're just sticking it on here. It's all going to be cleaned with contact or brake cleaner. So we'll just let this drip in here for now. That goes there. We're going to remove the top of the fork with a 22 mil like I had mentioned.
Yeah.
So when you take it off, it may pop a little bit because there's a spring inside your fork. There's your spring. When you put the spring back in, the closer part of the spring goes at the bottom of the fork, and the wider space goes to the top. So that way there, when it compresses, all right, it gets harder as you compress the spring. So always the closer part together at the bottom of the fork, and up top the wider spot. Now we remove the damper from inside. This is the damper here. So other than being really disgusting, doesn't look like there's much wear in there. So I'm going to be just cleaning it up. We're going to be doing the other fork and all that there. So we're not going to be, I'll put that on time lapse. So, and if there's any questions, you can just ask for that. So check it out, watch it, see what goes on. Hey guys, alright, so we're back putting the forks together. So anyways, they were in, like I said, in pretty rough shape. Everything is taken apart, everything is cleaned. We did one fork, so basically we're going to show you what it's like putting the other fork together. So to put the seal in, I normally put the bottom of the fork in the vise. I use a bicycle grease, which is much clearer than a regular bearing grease and all that there. So that way there it's easier to slide in. And also when you put the leg back in the tube, there's less damage done to the seal. So that's it. So I do the outside and the inside of the seal. Or you can do the inside of the seal and the inside of the fork tube. One of the two, it's up to you. So that's what I do there. That way the lips are not damaged. So, and you can do the inside, like I said, of the fork tube. Now, normally with larger forks, you use a driver for driving the seal into the bottom of the fork. These are a little bit small, so I'm using a larger socket with a ball peen hammer to beat it into place. So with the larger seals, it's much more difficult. So that's why you have to use this, and you drive it into the bottom of the fork. So I'll stick this back up into here. Just got to be careful that you don't damage any of the seal. So that's in its spot. So as you can see, the seal is in there. Around the seal, there should be some type of little ring or groove that you see there. That is where this circlip fits in to hold everything into place. Plus the bolt that I had mentioned to you earlier, 6mm Allen, 8mm thread, which screws into the bottom of the fork. Because your damper is in the fork, So this screws into the bottom of this and it holds both items together. So we'll finish with the grease. This is all done. That's in its spot. So we'll put the damper in the fork leg. So this spring can fall off. So I normally put it in on the side, push it to the bottom with the spring. It should protrude out of the bottom of the fork. I keep the spring in to hold it in its spot so it doesn't fall out. Then put both assemblies together. And then that's where this bolt screws into the bottom here and holds both pieces together. Like I had mentioned, 6mm Allen. You have to push on the spring to compress to hold it, the damper in its spot. That is going to hold. So that's done. The clip. Push it into its spot. Just use a flat screwdriver to make sure that it sits all around, holding the seal in its place. You can see the seal is in there with the clip. That's all good. Dust seal, like I had mentioned earlier.
Do you put grease on that one too?
Don't have to put grease on that one. Just push it into its spot. So that's just to prevent any type of dust getting in to damage the seal inside. So now once this is together like this, I remove the spring because we have to put in a certain amount of cc's of oil, fork oil, into the fork. So pulled out my trusty Honda book. This is a 2004, but 2004, 2006, it's the same fork for the same machine. So they're saying that you need 75 cc's of oil per fork. So I use a ratio rate, and the ratio rate can be used for a few items. It can be used for oil changes, doing the oil in the forks, because it tells you how many cc's, fluid ounces, pints, and on the other side of it, for two-stroke engines, it can tell you how you can measure your 40-to-1, 20-to-1, whatever ratio you want to do. So that's why they call it a ratio rate. So for this bike, I'm sticking in a 10 weight oil. The thicker the oil, then that way there it's going to have more. It's going to be stiffer when you put in a 10 weight or a 15 weight. It's going to be much more stiffer. 5 weight I normally stick in, 5 to 7 weight in a larger bike. This here we're going to stick in the 10 weight. If we find that it's too soft, then we'll stick in the a 15 weight or a 20 weight later on. So, but for now, 10 weight is the way we're going. So we stick in 75 cc's. Well, it says 74, so we're just going to round it off by like 1 cc. That's not the end of the world. You try and be a little bit more specific when it comes to the larger precision bikes, but a little pit bike for fooling around with, this is good enough. So, pour it into the leg. That's done. Now we put in the spring, like I mentioned earlier. the closer part of the spring goes at the bottom of the fork. So you just slide that in. You can pull the fork back up. Then top of the fork, just push down on the spring. Oh, didn't hold on that time. There you go. So that's a 22 mil like I had mentioned. Tighten that up. And that's basically the fork. This part here is what screws in here to hold it onto the triple clamps. So it was relatively quick job. That's about it. So we'll be putting the forks back on the bike. I'm not going to show you a video for that because it's basically doing the reverse of what I did earlier, is removing it there. So that's about it. So stay tuned and we'll show you what's going on to do with the back end of the bike. All right, see you later. Hey guys, this is the continuation of the forks. As I mentioned earlier, that the brakes were pretty shot. So normally what I do when it comes to that is the drum itself. All right, I look inside. There's no grooves. It's all good. It's pretty smooth. But just to get any residue off, I normally take an 80 grit sandpaper, right, and just rub inside to try and make sure that I clean as much dirt and crap that's inside the hub out. So that's like, it's relatively good, so there's not much there. I check the bearings. Another thing also is when the wheel is off, always check the bearings. The bearings should spin freely and it shouldn't move up and down. If there is, definitely replace them, because then you're going to damage either your hub or the axle. So both sides are really, really good. So there's we got no problem with that. We lucked out for that. So we picked up some EBC brakes. So the EBC brakes for this particular model is the 333. That's the model, or the number for this particular machine. It may fit on other machines, but this is the one that fits for this particular one. So, and it also comes with springs. So replacement springs. So there are EBC 333s with a G at the end, which means grooved. So in other words, your shoe, all right, will have grooves in it, and the grooves are to evacuate any type of mud or dirt or water or something like that. For a little 70cc, you're definitely not going that fast. So this is more than enough for what you need. So we just got to remove the old pads off of the brake assembly. So you just basically pull them apart. Got to make sure that the cam here where the shoe sits on is free.
You have to adjust the...
So
you have to adjust this piece underneath, so when it aligns with the... This piece has to align with that when it's...
No, that doesn't align with that. This here is
a
a marker, all right, for when your brakes are finished. So in other words, once this arrow here aligns with this arrow here, that means your pads inside are completely shut. So it was like really, really close. So that's all good. So now that we got new pads, new springs, just have to make sure that you put the flat with the flat, because some people make mistakes and put them in reverse. I've seen that in the past. So you basically have to separate them. There's one there. There, make sure you don't pinch your fingers, because that feels real good. That's happened to me in the past. So, new shoes are on. So, when the cam goes up and down, where the brake cable hooks up to, as you can see, the shoes open and close. So when they open, it pushes towards the inside of the hub, and that's what breaks your bike. Front and rear shoes are basically, it's all the same thing. So that's about it there, guys. So we'll be putting the front end of this together really soon. All right?